how to leverage a job offer to get a raise. Hello, beautiful people. Today we're going to talk about how to leverage a job offer to get a raise. I love this one, like woohoo. This is such a great one. You guys ask such great questions. So this one's a really tricky one because you've got to ask for a raise without destroying trust with your boss. That's difficult. We're also going to look at what's the biggest mistake that people make when they're trying to negotiate with a competing offer, and how to turn this situation into a win for you, whether you decide to stay or whether you decide to go. At the end of this video, you'll know how to be able to navigate this conversation in a way that allows you to be able to build trust with your boss, to be able to not burn bridges, to be able to set yourself up for success whether you stay or whether you go, and to be able to use this for your long-term career progression. So, you guys ask great questions, but here's why this one's particularly tricky. This one's tricky because what it means is that you aren't happy where you are, and you did interviews and you applied for another job and you've now received an offer. So unless the offer absolutely came out of the blue and you had no idea it was going to happen, you're in a position where you have to go to your boss and tell them that you weren't happy 2 or 3 months ago and you started this process and you've done your interviews, now you've received a job offer. That's a difficult conversation to have, so we've got to help you finesse that really well. Either way, you now have a job offer, and the job offer is probably with a competitor. So you're wondering, how do I get a raise without blowing up my relationship with my boss? There's a lot of potential misunderstandings and potential conflict and potential messiness that we need to take care of here to make sure that you don't blow up your relationship with your boss. So there are 2 ways you got to this situation. Which one is you? Scenario 1 is you weren't actively looking, but someone approached you and made you an offer. This one's the much easier one to deal with. In this one, you're in a strong position to say, I wasn't looking, but this fell in my lap and I'd like to talk to you about it. And that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do and to ask to do. Scenario 2 is you were unhappy, you did go out looking, you did do the interviews, and you did get an offer. Now this one's trickier because your boss might feel that you have betrayed their trust to a certain extent, and we need to take care of that. Your boss is probably going to ask you, why did you not come to me first? And we need to get you ready to be able to answer that. So to start the conversation without blowing up the trust, what I have found in these circumstances is the most important thing you can do is be completely transparent and honest. There is no way that you want to make this more sticky or more uncomfortable by embellishing the truth. So be completely transparent and be completely honest. And the other thing to do is prepare yourself for the conversation. And prepare, I mean, in this case, would be actually practice this conversation with someone who you know and like and trust, probably not someone at work, so that you can hear yourself saying it and you can hear how you feel when you're saying it, and you can make sure that it is something that your boss is going to be able to hear, and they're going to be able to hear it as you wanting to build a relationship with them rather than destroy the one you have. So the conversation probably looks something like this. I'd like to have a completely open conversation with you. So when you say something like that, you're positioning your boss for hearing something odd or strange that they hadn't anticipated. So you're trying to remove the element of surprise and give them time to be able to respond based on the relationship they've had with you, not based on this particular circumstance, which could actually produce a big breakdown for them. So we want to give them time. So I'd like to have a conversation with you, and I'd like to be completely transparent. And as I've mentioned to you a few times, I've been not enormously happy with how it is that I'm doing here. And I love working for you. Hopefully you do. And I am, because that's why you're going in and negotiating with another offer. Otherwise, if you're not willing to stay, then you shouldn't be having that conversation. But you're going into your boss and you're saying, I've liked working for you. I'd like to continue working for you. I have this other offer and I'd like to sit down with you and talk about it. Perfectly reasonable conversation to have. Tricky, but perfectly reasonable. So at this point, your boss is either nodding that they knew that you weren't happy, or they feel blindsided. Even though you may have spoken to them ahead of time, they feel blindsided and they said, why didn't you come and talk to me first? So you need to be honest about that and you need to have prepped for that. Maybe you've tried multiple times to change something in your work environment and you haven't been successful in doing it. I think it's important at this point to be honest about it. It might be something along the lines of, I struggle with X department that you and I work with all of the time, and I don't think that we've made any breakthroughs with that, and it's making my work very difficult. I love working for you, I enjoy working here, but on a day-to-day basis, that's very hard for me to deal with. So this is where you've done your homework and you've done your prep and you've actually done a little bit of role playing with someone you trust. And so you've identified what's the real reason that you're considering leaving. The other important thing to remember in here is the reason you're having this conversation with your boss in the first place is not to pit your boss against the other company. It's because you've already decided that you want to stay with the company that you're at, or you're willing to stay with the company that you're at. Now, if you're not willing to do that, you shouldn't be having this conversation in the first place. The conversation you're having with your boss is a goodbye conversation. And thank you very much for all the wonderful work we've done together. It's not a conversation around, I'd like to consider staying. So if you're considering staying and you might like certain things to change, that's the conversation that you're having at this point. So if your boss wants to keep you, and let's assume they do, and they're sad to see you go, what you want to be able to do then is give them an opening to be able to counter offer, to offer you something more than you currently have. Now, they may not be able to offer you exactly what's in your other offer letter, and you need to have decided for yourself before you go into this conversation if you're willing to take a little bit less money and continue to stay with a promise of a promotion down the road, if you're willing to take a little bit less money and a promotion that happens sooner, if you're willing to take a status quo and you still want to stay. So for you, it's really important for you to know what it is going to satisfy you in this, what it is that you're really going to do ahead of time, and anticipate that your boss is going to negotiate with you to a certain extent. Now, when I had people working for me, I would always say, I want you to know what other opportunities are out there for you. I want you to be able to go out and occasionally do interviews and come back because you've decided you wanted to stay here. I want you to be working in this position because you know the company, you like working for me, you love your team, and you're committed to making it a better place to work by contributing and making offers, rather than you're just perennially dissatisfied. The people you want to keep on your team are people like you, people who actually are proactive about making sure that they love what they're doing. So use this as an opportunity to be able to discuss with your boss how things could be better and what it is you can do to help them be better with your boss's support. Your boss will more than likely counteroffer. Know what that reality is, know what that means for you, and make sure that you're ready yourself to be able to honestly accept what works for you. If it doesn't work for you, it's still totally appropriate to say to your boss, look, I really appreciate that you've counter-offered and that you've gone to HR and you've looked for more money and you've done all of these things for me, but I really feel at this point that this is an opportunity that I cannot turn down. Now, your boss has probably done something similar themselves at some point in their career, so they will more than likely understand. The most important thing that you can do in here is you can be respectful, you can be appreciative, and you can be calm. There is a hidden cost to this conversation. If you handle this conversation extremely well, it actually builds a level of trust with your boss because you've been incredibly vulnerable and you've been able to deal with it well, and you're both in agreement that you're going to stay and that you're going to work with your boss to improve whatever situation it is that is making you want to leave in the first place. Your boss now knows that they've got a strong ally in you in trying to improve a circumstance that they're aware of, and they also want to improve. So regardless of what happens here, your boss may feel that you've gone a little bit behind their back. Recognize that that's the case. If you're going to stay, look to consistently then rebuild trust with them. Make sure that they know that you're staying because you want to stay. So again, this comes back to make sure you know what you're looking for and what you're prepared to settle for or agree to before you go into the conversation. It's very difficult to be able to make these decisions in the moment. Make sure that you've made them before you go into the conversation. Point number 7, which is really important for you, is never burn bridges. The world is a very small place. People talk to people who know you, the old 7 degrees of separation. Make sure you don't burn bridges. Whatever happens with your boss, what you're looking for the outcome to be is one of mutual respect. If you leave, it's a blow for your boss because now there are people around your boss asking why they didn't do such a good job of managing you and why you left in the first place, although everybody's had that happen to them. But remember that you want to stay in touch, that you want to continue to relate to them, network with them, help them, be of support to them, stay in the industry with them, that you have good things to say about them and that they have good things to say about you. Try as much as you possibly can not to leave in a situation where you don't respect each other and you have nothing but bad things to say about each other. If you've bad things to say about someone, best not say them. Getting yourself ready for this conversation is the most important thing that you can possibly do. Paying attention to the 7 points that I've brought out will help you with it. The other thing that will really help you with it is, oddly, doing the promotion readiness assessment, because what it also does is it forces you to be honest. In a number of videos that I've done, I've encouraged people not to leave a job that they're not 100% happy with, but to find a way to stay within that company and to negotiate better circumstances or better conditions for themselves, and also to make offers to improve the company. And the reason for that is we tend to take our baggage with us. And if you can find a way to work through your baggage in the job that you're in, you're probably going to make yourself much more proficient at having these kind of conversations, and it will serve you extremely well over the long run. Down below in the comments, there's a link. It's www.getpromotedassessment.com. Take it. It'll help you with this conversation. It's free. Let me know how it works for you and let me know how I can support you in this difficult but very possible conversation. I wish you the best of luck.